Okay, everybody, here we are with our What Sold video for the week of January 29th through February 4th, 2023. It seems like every couple YouTube videos, I try to learn something new about making a YouTube video. So I've learned how to put my face on one of these types of screen share videos. I don't think my face might not be here on every single one, but it was just something I was curious about, and I figured out how to get that to working. It's been, a learning process. So anyway, I can't seem to expand this page without losing the little camera. So let's just keep it like this. And, oh my goodness, it was such a better week than the last couple weeks. We sold 42 items, which was about 12 more than last week. And our total was 1,387. So that was about $600 more than last week. So that was great. One thing I wanted to talk about, I think I put it in the title, talking about whether you really do you need to cross list or cross post your items in order to be a successful reseller. And, a lot of people have different opinions about it. Some people prefer to just pick one platform and just really give it their full attention. And that certainly can work. There's other people who like to cross list or cross post, but they prefer not to pay to do it. And so they end up just, once they make their listing, they have their photos, everything's ready. They load their photos and copy and paste and everything. So it's totally a good way to do it too. I like to use VENDOO. I think I've talked about it before. I've tried some of the other ones, but I do like VENDOO. It's very easy to use, and I like the fact that it's kind of storing my listings, and I can redo some older listings if I, find something similar. I like the fact that it just kind of moves everything over for me. And we don't cross post to all of the sites that we're on. Some of our Etsy shops are just kind of their niches, and so we just list in there. And then like Ruby Lane, I don't cross post any of the Ruby Lane stuff. But for my clothing and my kind of basic listings for eBay and Poshmark, it has saved me some time, and it's easy to delist. Like if something sells on eBay, I can go into VENDOO, mark it sold, and then it'll take it off the other platforms. They do have a mobile app that I've just been really slow to download or use. But at first it was limited to how you could end listings on it, but they've keep working on it. So now you're able to do that on the go, which I think is really amazing. Otherwise, you just go into each of your stores and just, manually end the item. Now, what was I going to say? There was one other thing I was going to say about that. Anyway, it's gone. So, like I said, we had a really good week. eBay was better. Poshmark had an increase in sales. We were at 326. Etsy, we just had a couple sales in just a couple of the shops. And I think that's maybe what I was going to say. So when I was saying that about how VENDOO holds onto your listings, it's kind of a place to store listings. So my husband got his Etsy shop opened again, and he ended up, there were things on eBay that he wanted to put in his shop. And so it was real quick to just move those over, throw them in drafts, and then he could kind of play around with them from there. And so that was a benefit for having that. Then also, so, cross-listing, that's up to you. It's whatever you feel comfortable with. A lot of times people get nervous about things selling in multiple sites at the same time. And, honestly, that has only happened like a handful of times over the years. And it's usually something that's like hard to find, or I can't even remember the last time it happened. But it's something that a person had a hard time finding, so they find one and then they find it somewhere else, but it's yours, and so they buy it again, and you just have to kind of explain. What we end up doing is canceling it there's different ways to think about it. I'm trying to think about what we've done the last time. I think we basically cancel, if it's the same person, then we just cancel the one that causes us the less grief. And if it's different people, then we honor the one that came in first. So that's how we work that. But having it bought by the same person, by different people at the same time is super, super rare. If it's a really sought after item, I will probably list it to eBay and then wait a couple days, and then I'll cross post it to some of the other sites. So, and then a lot of times that item sells before I get a chance to do that anyway, if it's that sought after. Anyway, so that's what I wanted to say about cross listing. It's up to you, obviously, but I don't think, I'm trying to look at my online presence as a whole. So instead of being upset, oh man, I didn't list in this shop this week, or this shop didn't give me any sales this week, oh, that's terrible. I'm just trying to look at our whole reselling. It's just our reselling business. And so it's just we had 42 sales this week, in all these different platforms. And so VENDOO kind of helps me view it more as a whole, even though not all of our sites are on there, if that makes sense. Anyway, let's move on to the sales. And we're starting with Poshmark just because that's random and that's how I set it up. Okay, so this was a pair. It does totally look like a skirt, but this is a pair of pants. And as you can see, but I used the word palazzo. They're palazzo pants. These were like a rayon material, really soft. And I could just tell, that they were, I used wide leg, beachy, coastal tag words for that. I could just tell with the current wide leg pant style that these would be popular, and especially with the warmer, spring. They're not too summery looking, but maybe in a warmer climate. So those sold for $19, and they sold on Posh. You can see my terrible background. My husband keeps saying he's gonna cover that up for me someday. So in the meantime, I just remove the background. That's why I do that. So Flying Tomato was the brand, but I mostly did this just based on style, not so much what the brand was telling me. So they sold actually pretty quickly, like within a day or two. Then we have the Dale of Norway, definitely a sweater brand you want to keep an eye out for. Very Nordic. The Fair Isle styles are super popular. I put in big letters the word flaw. So like right up in here, I didn't notice till after I bought it, which was at a yard sale for like $5. Here, I'll show you the tag. Dale of Norway. You go further down. I showed, I think that was where the hole was. And I showed there's a couple stains. And yeah, so the hole wasn't super noticeable like when you were just wearing it. It was, if you like pulled it apart, you could definitely see where it was coming apart. Anyway, so, a lot of times these sweaters can sell for $50 and plus. And so I just had it lower and I took an offer for $39 on that. Cool. This is another, we love us some Cool, Kuhl. And this was a cowl neck sweater, women's size large. It was kind of a waffle knit, and it had a style name was Petra. And so that had a lot of interest on both eBay and Poshmark, but it ended up selling for $25 on Poshmark. These pants, oh my goodness, we've had these pants. We had this pair and another pair very similar, but they had one the belt showed and one the belt didn't. And they just, Eddie Bauer, the clothing, I'll wear Eddie Bauer and stuff like that, but I don't, reselling it can be really hard. It takes the right item. These had been listed for so long, and we even redid the listings, and we bought these so long ago. Anyway, we ended up selling them for $20. So both of them are gone now, and I couldn't be happier. Nice sale on Poshmark. I found these Doc Martens at Goodwill, and they were $10, I think, at Goodwill. And I think I got them on my half off day. And so I was happy about that. So $5 into $80. Now, they didn't have the typical sole, that we're used to Doc Martens having, that kind of see-through brownish gray rubber type sole. They were just a black, but they were platform, and they were wedge heeled, and they were just very Y2K clunky, chunky looking. And they actually turned out to be fairly rare. I found one other pair in black, but I couldn't really find these anywhere. So they weren't made in England, so I didn't say they were vintage, but they possibly could have been that early 2000s chunky look. And anyway, they sold for $80, which was our full asking price. This was a tumbler, kind of a shorter than normal Starbucks tumbler from 2004. We have a lot of friends who are Russian speaking, and some friends from Russia and from, Ukraine and all different things. My husband and I spent probably about 10 to 12 years learning to speak Russian. So we have lots of friends, and we're kind of rusty at the moment just because we don't have a lot of opportunity. This was more before the kids and before, while we still lived in Washington. So I had picked this up at a thrift store just for myself because I like the little Matryoshka doll. And anyway, so she was super cute, but I decided to go ahead and let her go. It's kind of a smaller size. I just wasn't using it, so we let it go for $25. And then Untuckit can be a good brand. We've had 2 Untuckit shirts. Like, we got some Untuckit shirts and they did really well and they sold super fast. And then we got this shirt and another shirt. And I think maybe because it's a size medium or because it's gray, I don't know. I mean, the other one is still sitting too, and it's like a bright plaid. This one finally sold. I got an offer for $21 and I was like, yes, please. So I have picked up a couple more Untuckits that I need to get listed, but I think I found a flannel and maybe a denim, something a little bit different, and they were in larger sizes. So I think I will probably stick with larger sizes and see if that helps. These have been listed a while, so I was super glad to let them go. This one go for $21. North Face, this, let's see, do I have a size? Men's medium. I think this was, my husband wore this for a while. This was in his closet, and he was just cleaning out one time and listed it. He listed it back in the old place we lived. Yeah, that would have been Washington. So, oh, no. No, that was here. It was just probably sometime during the pandemic. So he listed it, and it's North Face, a hiking shirt. It's just not as sought after as other North Face items, but he was just trying to clean out his closet, and so we took an offer for $20. Nice little bread and butter sale. It's a hat that I think my husband picked up at the bins, Volkswagen. This style hat is called like a cadet cap. It's not really a baseball, but it has more of a military look, so it's called a cadet. But speaking of North Face, this was a really nice sale. I try to, I don't pick up everything North Face, but I'm especially interested in the vintage, the older pieces. This was just a fleece, but it had, I don't know what you call it, the Polar Tech part 2. And I recognize the tag as just being an older style tag. Someone, I think, had colored in the O. It's got some of these features. So it was a little bit of an older, probably more Y2K type style. And we sold that one for $60. St. John. This is the good St. John, even though I only sold it for $19. It was just basically a shell. So it's that sweater material, which St. John is known for. And it had a really cool detail on the front that was a clock. And the only thing I could find on eBay was a red version, and then also a cardigan that had this motif on it, and I believe this was the shell that would go under the cardigan. So I almost even reached out to the cardigan seller to see if they just wanted to buy it, and I don't know, maybe that was who bought it, I don't know. But anyway, $19. I knew I wasn't going to get a ton of money for this, so I just wanted to move it through, and so I took the $19 offer. Okay, we're going to move on to eBay. Had a nice, Flatware sale for $25. Hold on, I got to get my phone. Because I have to check the selling prices because it's not the same as what shows here a lot of times. Okay, but it shows on my phone, it shows better. So these were Reed & Barton, which I talked about in my Flatware video on selling flatware and the good brands to sell. The pattern is called Marlborough, and this is a pattern that usually sells pretty well. It'll say Reed & Barton Heritage Mint on the back. And this was 5 teaspoons that sold for $25. I put this on Instagram when it sold because I was like, this is the type of thing that my husband sees at a thrift store that I wouldn't even see it. Like my eyes would just go over it. But we have sold some car mats in the past. And so I think he found Ford Bronco. He found the floor mats, and he found these. These are seat back cover things. I think so, your kids can't, if they kick the back of the seat, I'm assuming that's what it's for. But we were dealing with a person who wanted them, and we had them in separate listings at first. And he wanted them, but he only wanted to pay like $100 total, including shipping for both. And we're like, no way, they're super heavy and big. And my husband was like, no, I don't really want to go that low. So he's like, oh, I'll think about it. So then my husband's like, you know what, I'm just going to move it together into one listing. So we did that. He came back again with that same offer, and we were like, still no. And so finally we were glad, after a couple weeks or so, we woke up to $125 full price, full asking price sale for both of these things. And we used Parcel Select, but UPS or FedEx would have worked with this too. They weren't, they were big, but we could keep the package kind of thin, so it wasn't as terrible as it could be. And my husband was like, these 2021-22 Ford Broncos are so expensive. So he's like, whoever has a brand new Ford Bronco can afford to buy these at our price. We can't afford that car, so they can afford, I'm just trying to feed my family, right? And so they can probably pay this much for their seat back covers. That's my story. Okay, sold this fork by Wedgwood, not a brand I believe I didn't talk about in the Flatware video, just because it was not a common, it's not a common one you find. I have found pieces over the years, but Vera Wang did some flatware with Wedgwood, so I've sold some of those before. This sold, I have other pieces in this pattern listed by Wedgwood. This sold pretty well. It's considered a European fork, and it's more valuable than the regular dinner forks. So the European fork is a lot longer than a regular dinner fork. So a regular dinner fork is 7.25 inches. European fork, as you can see, was almost 9 inches. So we were, I was happy about that. $9, paid 25 cents, 20 cents, whatever it was, and sold it for $9 plus shipping. This actually sold for $20, not $25. It's just a belt. You know, nothing special. Someone gave my son some hand-me-down clothes, and this was in it, and didn't have a buckle, but it was a really nice Western kind of looking belt, and so we popped it on eBay, $20. And my friend was fine with that. She knows I sell. She was like, do whatever you want, whatever clothes you don't keep, sell, let them wear it, donate, whatever. Vintage Timberland boots. These were super cool. They did not sell for 100. They sold for 70. They went to an overseas buyer, and I just, love the look of them. Here's the vintage Timberland tag, and got these at Goodwill earlier in the winter or fall, so $70. I'm only showing these. I was debating not showing anything less than $20, but I think I've got time. And I just wanted to say that we've just kind of decided we're not picking up Nike polos anymore. I had picked... All right, let me show you the next one. Hold on. Okay, so this was a really cool looking one, but it was a size small, and that actually sold for like $15. Yeah, it sold for $15. And we were like, yes, just take it. It's fine. And somebody had sent us an offer. And I had picked up this one because I thought the camouflage look was really interesting. And it was, wherever I got it, it was super cheap. And so then I saw this one, and it was similar colors. It's an extra large. But it was like one of those things where I was like, you know what? If I'm listing one, we can just list another one. And the colors were similar and stuff, not the sizes. And again, it wasn't super expensive, but this one only sold for $14, even though it was an extra large, but just not a lot of interest in them. And we just decided, Nike has to be very, very specific if we're going to spend our time on listing it. It's not my favorite brand to sell. Sold another Inkwell. This was made in the USA. My husband picked this up on our road trip. We knew we had a couple Inkwells that we needed to list, and so he grabbed a couple more and then had listed them all at the same time. And we have sold quite a few of them, actually. I'm not sure if we have any listed right now. This vest I thought was awesome. I mean, look at the horses on it. And, I live in horse country, so I see horse stuff fairly often. The brand is Masmania. It was in a What Sold several months ago, but I had sold a Masmania large coat in this kind of fleece material, but it had, if you remember, it had hot air balloons on it, and I had sold on Depop for quite a bit of money. And so this had been listed before that, and I got favorites and people, and I sent out offers and offers and offers. And finally, I think I just was like, I need to get stuff gone. So I sent this like a $20 offer out, and somebody accepted it. So that was good. I don't know why it didn't sell for more. Okay, this is a brand called, I don't know how it's pronounced. Ether or Ether or whatever. This was brand new. So the story was I had found an Ether, let's just call it Ether. I had found an Ether men's jacket and never heard of the brand before. I looked it up real quick. It's kind of like a boutiqued, outdoor company. And I, we listed the men's jacket and it sold pretty quickly. I found a woman's hoodie and that sold pretty quickly. So I came across 6 of these jackets that were white. Look how white. I had to use a black background to show it. And they're super thin. I mean, they're like paper. And for some reason, there was 6 of them or 10 or something at the thrift store. And I was like, well, they're super tiny. I was like, they're super not substantial. I was like, I don't know if I want to mess with these. So I bought 2. So this is my second one, and it sold finally. And it sold for $38, which isn't too bad. I'm sorry about the lighting in my face and it going in and out. I'm in my photo studio, because the rest of my office is a big mess and I didn't feel like clearing any other surfaces. And so I'm like sitting here in my photo studio. Anyway, life of a reseller. So I was glad these both sold. And actually I found another woman's jacket in black, and I think it'll do better because it's black. And I have to get that listed when I find it again. This was one of my favorite sales. I have sold this pottery, this company before. I have sold some of their dinnerware. It's Bennington Potters. Now, what's interesting is that I put the word pottery. And Bennington Pottery is something totally different. But Bennington Potters, this sold so fast, I didn't even get a chance to see that my title had auto-corrected. And so I didn't even get a chance to fix it. But they sold overnight. And this is the pattern. It's called white on white. And then it's like sponged. So it's white on white and it's agate is what they call it. So I had bought 4 bowls. I got home and found out there was a crack in one of them. So I just listed the 3. And here's the mark. You can kind of see it. You can see the word Bennington. 1961 is not the year. It's just the mold mark, basically. DG stands for David Gill. So if you ever, it's definitely a BOLO brand. So if you look here, Bennington Potters, they're from Vermont. Been in business 74 years, according to their little thing there. They're still in business. They're kind of known for, if you can see these, I think they're called trigger mugs. The 2 like openings. And you can see another one here. There's more of that sponged look that they're kind of famous for. But yeah, very popular Bennington Potters Vermont company. And the stuff I've had have sold for really good prices super fast. So definitely a BOLO brand to look out for. Here is a lamp, and the brand is Tensor. Definitely a good mid-century lamp to keep an eye out for. Just a desk task lamp. And, you know, we always did well selling these on Etsy. And we actually, when we opened my husband's shop, we had moved this over to that shop, but it was still listed here on eBay. I don't know that he had the other one live yet. Or we were just going to leave it cross-posted. But anyway, it sold for $50. And look what it is. Now, if you saw my video about why haven't these items sold, this was one of the 5 items that I talked about that I couldn't sell and had not sold yet. So I did all the things in the video and I refreshed it and I got a $15 offer. And I said, all right, just get over yourself. You want these things to sell. And it did have condition issues and things like that. And so I just went ahead and took the offer. It took a couple days to get paid for, because at first I was like, oh no, they're not going to pay. But it all worked out. So it is on to its new home. Long denim skirts are super popular right now. It does not really matter the brand. The brand was Genealogy, but it kind of had that mermaid flared look, and it was a size 14. I put the waist size because I wasn't sure, how accurate that was currently. And yeah, it sold overnight for $50. Quacker Factory is a good brand to kind of keep an eye out for. Not with everything, but something that definitely has bling, or if it has a theme or something like that. This was new with tags, and it did take a little while to sell. I thought it was like a super happy print. So it sold for, hold on, I don't think it was that price. It sold for $30. So good enough. This was a pair I picked up at the thrift store one day. They sold for $80, not $100. Alpine Stars. They just looked to be in really, really good condition. I was thinking it was going to be like wrestling shoes or something, and it turns out I think they're motorcycle shoes. Like street bike kind of thing. Anyway, they took a while to sell. This is from a few years ago, and it seems like every year or so there's like a new style that comes out. And so these were back from like 2015. And, you know, the only comp I could find was a third-party seller on Walmart who sold theirs for like 110, but it could have been back closer to when they were new, you know. Okay, pair of scissors I picked up at a yard sale. They sold for $28.99. They were sewing scissors. And, you know, take a look at scissors like this. Some can sell for really good money. I thought $28.99 wasn't so bad because we paid just like $1. Now, here's a bolo you might not have thought of, a pricing gun, or maybe didn't realize like how well they sell and for how much. So this sold for $45. We have sold these before, and so we knew to pick this one up, and it sold, I'm not going to say it sold quickly, but it's so, I don't know, in the last couple months it was listed. Pair of hunting camo pants for women, Cabela's, not the greatest brand. Let's see. Okay, they did sell for $25. We had them listed a little bit higher, but I was dealing with a customer that had already gotten enough offers. I don't know what, she just didn't accept any of them, and so it wouldn't let me send her another offer. So I changed the price to $25, and she paid. This is just a little wine bottle cork stopper type thing, made in Italy for the champagne brand Mum, and it sold for $18.99. These have been listed a while. I remember when Keen Newport sandals would sell like that. These were kids. We sent out a $15 offer, and somebody took that. Okay, so those were the eBay sales for the week. Let's move on to my husband's shop. This was his first sale. So he opened up his shop, and he's been slowly adding things to it. And this wasn't his first sale. This was his second sale. But he sold 2 things like the first day he was open. So that was kind of exciting. I notice now that he has the word orange in his title. And to me, this was red. And this was something I found and graciously let him list. But he had sold these types of things in his shop, these little butter warmers, coffee pot type things, Turkish coffee. He had sold them in his shop before, so he just had a listing he could reuse, and he either reused an orange one and left that color, or he sees color totally different than I do. I haven't asked him yet. I'm like, do you think that's orange? Because to me that's red. But anyway, we'll see if the buyer says anything when she gets it. Hopefully she just looked at the picture and didn't read. It's the one time you don't want your buyers to read, right? So this was the actual first thing he sold, which totally cracks me up because there are definitely things that will sell better on Etsy, which is probably why, even though I love Ruby Lane, Etsy still has a place in the reselling world where we can sell things for $35 that would only sell for $20 at the most, $25 at the most on eBay. Now, I just looked on eBay. This model clock, it was in really good condition, but this model clock, there are 100 of them listed on eBay right now, and only 30 have sold in the last 90 days. And so that's a really not great sell-through rate. And they were mostly selling around $15. And, you know, this sold really, really quickly for $34. Ooh, sorry. $34 on Etsy. So we've had that experience many, many times. Ruby Lane, like I said, my goal was to wake up Ruby Lane, and it worked. I listed a bunch of stuff Monday, and by Monday morning I had a sale for 3 things from one buyer, and I'll show them the first 3 items I'm going to show you were all in the same purchase order. This is Robert Rose, is just a nice looking rhinestone brooch, but not terribly old, like maybe 80s, 90s. And then this is the brooch I listed that day, which I think caught someone's attention, and then they added to their order. It's Trifari. It's called Crown Trifari because the mark that was used in the 50s has like a little crown on top of the T. So that's why they say crown trifari. And then she added some crown trifari clip earrings as well that kind of went, you know, they went well with that brooch. Then I listed this set. I had no idea what to price this at. The brand is Castle Cliff, and I just don't have a good feel for Castle Cliff jewelry, and I just wasn't sure, you know, I could not find one like it at all with the stones and the beads and the chains and the pastel colors, but I was like, this is perfect for spring. And I listed it, and overnight it sold for $95. You know, it's a bracelet and necklace. And it was one of my repeat buyers who lives in China, who uses a shipping forwarder to get her items. So super happy with that. I paid like $2 on our road trip in the little tiny thrift store in the middle of Montana. And I was happy to find it. Just thought it was super interesting looking. And it sold quickly. Now, jewelry, it's one of those niches I dabble in. You know, would you want any videos about jewelry? I know there's a ton of them out there. But I could just, you know, talk about the little bit I know about selling jewelry. I have done it for several years, and I have specific things I look for now just to kind of, because I have so many niches, I have to kind of try to focus a little bit, but jewelry actually sells a lot better than I had always thought it would, just because I thought it was oversaturated, but there are certain pieces that, you know, will sell pretty quickly. Anyway, leave a comment down below if that's something that you'd want to know anything more about. And I sold the salt and pepper shakers for $14. And I'm looking at the battery on my laptop, so I'm going a little faster because I don't want this to die. Okay, $14. The brand was Hall. I didn't have stoppers for these, and they were just too cool not to pick up from wherever I picked them up, some yard sale or something. So I was glad that those sold. Sold a pattern on Etsy. We're back to Etsy in the pattern shop. This one sold for $12. I am planning some content about sewing patterns. I know I've said that. So, you know, leave a comment if sewing patterns is something you'd like to know more about. And the other one was $14, a newer Vogue type pattern. And my Pish Posh Notion shop is just kind of in the background, and I get whatever sales I get from it. I did list a few items in it. I'm moving my patterns off of eBay into Etsy. And so I did do some things that, you know, I had some activity in the shop. So that was it for last week's sales. I have had some sales today that will be on next week's video. And hopefully I'll be able to just kind of keep going with, you know, I got to list quite a bit this week. And so I'm going to try to keep up that momentum. And anyway, I know I have promised some more Flatware content, and I'm going to work on that. I have a little bit in mind for another Ruby Lane video as well. So there'll be some of those things coming back up. I know in Flatware I wanted to talk about shipping, and that might just be an even like a little short video, like a short. And so kind of keep your eye out for that on how, it'll just be a quick how we package our Flatware to ship. So anyway, thank you guys as usual, and thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you soon.